Look at that. Look at that view. Look at that view. Sing an anime song.
Hell no, nigga. It's gonna I'm gonna
Come on.
play one. I'm gonna play one, bro.
Okay.
I'm gonna play one in the clip.
Oh, well, shit. Let me pose. You know what I'm saying? When you do the opening,
and
you got to pose for the thumbnail, bro.
Sorry to make you wait. Hope you're at peace. Special bean
Deal with the mail.
Pay like Van Gogh, pay like Van Gogh, pay like Van Gogh. What they mad for? What they mad for? What they mad for? Bitch, I'm getting stashed though. Why they gas ho? Why they gas ho? Hella packs full, hella packs full. Bitch, I got these packs full. Pay like Van Gogh, pay like Van Gogh, pay like Van Gogh. Bitch, I pay like Van Gogh. Why they mad? Hold up, be like Ted, hold up, be ashamed, hold up, ain't no game, hold up.
So, Elden Ring has been out for about a month now, give or take, and I'm well over 200 hours, probably a little bit closer to 300 hours or so. And I'm deciding now to make a more in-depth analysis of the game itself. We'll be talking about the story, world, and presentation of the game first. Then we can break down a bit of the gameplay and my overall impressions of my experience after about 250 hours or so. So, day one, we start with the standard character creator. Within this are very deep options. A few deep options anyway. But one thing a lot of people have been debating are those hair options. With games like Monster Hunter, especially World, and a few others having plenty of options, I have to look at this game as kind of missing an opportunity. And yeah, most people have made the claim that this game is based on European medieval lore, so the hair options make sense, but if you ask me, who exactly civilized Europe out of the Dark Ages? Look into the Moors. You'll be glad you did. Anyway, historical accuracies aside, it could have been a bit more in-depth and culturally sound considering the year we're living in, 2022, and how much you can alter the face options with those sliders. It can get very deep, but it's not enough to ruin the game. So after choosing our ugly hairstyle, our skin color, and the shape of our face and physical build, we then pick a number of starting classes, like in most Source-born games. For me, I started with the Confessor build because I knew I wanted a form of magic, just not the glintstone magic. I was initially going for a type of paladin build, so I wanted a little bit of melee, a little bit of healing, a little bit of casting. By now, most Soulsborne games start pretty much the same way. You wake up in a creepy looking and dark place full of mysteries. Most people by now know you can skip the tutorial by not being thorough about exploration, or being scared to jump. And you face your first boss, which in most cases kills you before you get a chance to dodge. Then they pop you out into the world map, which is large, but at first feels oddly compressed or restricted. I personally understood that there was much more than meets the eye. After this, you're free to play. No further explanations really required. Most people, myself included, would spend the next several hours roaming just the first area, testing your skills against whichever enemies were around, slowly but surely pushing back the fog and expanding the dark map barriers until you came across a map. This shows you the topography and features of the world, and the core loop of the exploration begins to implant itself in the player's mind. Check every corner, find the graces, which are home bases, and gain new abilities, weapons, and armor. Simple enough, right? But somehow many players will still end up playing the game slightly differently. One player might spend most of his time trying to find every little item on the map. Others will focus purely on beating the bosses as quick as humanly possible. Which message is the most cheesy? What if you just want to beat every boss alone or on your own merit? Maybe you want to co-op with a friend and help each other explore the entire map. And yeah, we're going to get into that co-op just a little bit later. Just wait on it. The point now is basically this. Early, you learn of the different ways to play. Most people will generally trek the same path, but many will deviate in many of the same ways. One player may do it as a confessor, the other a hero, and the next a mage or vagabond. Either way, there's plenty of variety to be found. If you played any Souls game before, you felt the constricting nature of the game, even with the freedom to make a build how you want. Instead of just stuffy dungeon swamps being the sole foundation for the entire game, Elden Ring effortlessly fuses these various biomes together. Caves and catacombs for the underground, castles and keeps can either house main bosses or smaller ones, and there are a number of surprises in the later areas of the game that mix and master the entire experience. The world map is well made and is crafted to guide the player into whichever experience they may be having. It's possible one player may want to simply try a hard boss over and over until they win, underleveled as they may be. Another may go and grind up for the same boss, getting more weapons and armors and upgrades before beating that boss. And two other players may just co-op and do it together in either of the two previously mentioned methods. Either way, they're free to do both. However, when talking about co-op, I personally have never liked Souls co-op. I managed to make it work a few times in Dark Souls 3, but not with people I knew. Instead, it was ours with random players or the NPCs that you can summon. Most times, I couldn't really tell. Here it is a bit more plausible, but you find moments where traveling through the map into caves or dungeons, the process is having to be stopped by a random summoning wall, are classically annoying. It shows me that there are clearly different areas in the maps, possibly separated by loading or something else, some back-end process, right? It immediately lessens the impact of the co-op experience for me, even though it's been this way for a good minute now. It's bad enough the drip is slightly ruined by having that bright, ugly aura. You can take it off with an item, I know. However, these issues are issues you can get over pretty quickly, right? It doesn't destroy the game completely if you were having a good time. But the idea of 3-player co-op can also be a bit limited. Many newer Souls players I got into Elden Ring wanted a 4-player co-op experience, expecting the game to be more like an MMO or some fully 4-player co-op thing, you know. But now knowing that the co-op is a little bit limited to 3 players, leaving room for an invader, it makes me, I don't hate invasions, but with some of the builds players are using, I don't exactly like it either. They can show up at some of the most inconvenient times using a purely cheese build and teabag you on the way out as if they did something that took skill. It's odd considering you get nothing for Souls PvP except more co-op currency that you can make almost indefinitely anyway. I don't really get the appeal of unrewarded cheese, but it does ruin the experience a bit. When it's a bit more feral build and player and play style, I lose maybe, and I don't mind it as much. Even if it's a 2v1, it can make for a more pleasing experience. Rivers of Blood and Moonville suck. Bloodhound Step is so useful, everyone uses it, and getting jumped is more worse here than any other game I've ever played, besides maybe Naruto the Boruto Shinobi Strikers, another Namco Bandai published game. Shocking. So basically, to summarize, this game's PvP and co-op reminds me of plenty Namco Bandai games. Cool abilities, but more than enough issues. It doesn't break the game for me, no, not at all, but the shit needs plenty of work, and in the future may need an overhaul, a complete one. So what can we say about the storytelling of this game? And no, I won't spoil too much, maybe a couple names and a couple clips, but I'll try to keep it as pretty much light as possible, even though the game's been out for a while now. What can I say, huh? Well, it's like many Souls games, layered. Most of the story is told in the environments. In games like this, cutscenes are few and far between.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, boy. Get your ass through that damn door. That boy need a manicure. They call it a manicure, pedicure. He need one of them motherfuckers.
What? You think just skipped it?
This nigga just skipped through the thing. This nigga tripping, bro.
Tripping. I don't understand why he would do
This
that.
nigga different. Bro. This nigga
And
different.
then
Bro.
he ran in here and started getting clapped.
This nigga strange, boy.
Yeah, I don't know why he did that, but can't skip the next one. Shit, I should just let you get clapped for doing that.
Let that nigga get clapped. He's fucking goofy.
Oh shit.
Ow.
Oh.
Got his ass. Bitch. Ah. Oh, nigga, do not die. You better not die. You better not fucking die. Woo! Woo!
He probably skipped it because he seen it on the stream with some
Oh,
shit.
he about to do it. Oh, let me get that final hit.
Ah, we both tried to. The game froze like that.
Was on his ass, nigga.
That shit freeze framed the fuck out of him.
I was in the air with it too. That nigga really skip his cutscene, boy. That's deep.
Yeah, that's. Yeah. I don't know why he did that. The only bit of story you finna get, you gonna skip it? Ah, damn, that's tough.
You don't even get cutscenes like that, boy. You tripping? I remember the first time I seen this, I was like, "What in the fuck?"
The end of the game has its own cutscene depending on which ending you get. Though most of the endings seem to be a bit streamlined, offering at best a change in sentence structure as well as a color swap to the overworld. Though for the variance in ending, I can look past these details. Many may skip or dislike the hidden nature of most lore, strewn between various items and locations. But for those who enjoy to explore, to dig around, they will find plenty of information that they can dive into. A friend of mine said that this game draws a lot of inspiration from the Berserk series, which I came to understand myself. So if you're a fan of the manga/anime, then you'll likely find a lot of parallels in this game, as well as a dedication to the creator of the Berserk series itself, which is pretty fucking cool, if I might add. If you like a more focused story experience, then the plot of this game may not draw you in on that aspect. Many others I know playing this game see Elden Ring as more of a boss rush and PvP game above all else. They enjoy it, but they kill NPCs for their items, don't complete quest lines unless there's an item that they need, and may even skip cutscenes, which, as I've said before, are as rare as they come. Weird, but I won't judge how a man chooses to play his games. Too much, anyway. As an RPG, Elden Ring holds up with the best of it. Its strongest aspect is its sense of exploration, even above the combat itself. Though I enjoy the combat for what it is, it's riding torn and walking through a misty region that the graphics and colors begin to show their worth, especially on the PlayStation 5. Though they seem to have kept the graphics simple so that past-gen consoles can still play and enjoy the game. As I've also been playing Horizon Forbidden West, I noticed that Horizon, the PS5 exclusive, has graphics that are a step above Elden Ring. Still, they have done well with what they have, and I just wanted to take the time to point that out. There are some breathtaking locations here, such as the capital city Lindell with its white and gold buildings, or Caelid with its odd and strange environment infected with rock, or Liurnia of the Lakes with its misty veil and water that reflects the sky. There is a location here for everyone who is a fan of video game environments, and in the world building and level design department, I believe this game stands above the rest. So as a combat-based RPG, let's speak on what makes a game like this. It's PvE content, specifically enemies and bosses. Now, if you played any Souls game, you know that bosses are typically the highlight. By defeating them, you gain new items and abilities to expand your build. Now, Elden Ring has several main bosses and a large plethora of mini-area bosses, such as the Tree Sentinels. Throughout the game, you will find various variations of Tree Sentinel. Early game bosses in caves and dungeons are often regular enemies in the later game, and they use this to tease story content moving forward. It all makes for an interesting experience, and there is enough enemy variety to keep you always finding something new, even when some enemies are reused, such as certain enemies in the Everjails or the Black Knife Assassins. So what about the game's main bosses, such as Godric, Rani, Radahn, Maul, and Rykard? Each one has its own flair and personality. Godric is a simple boss building on what was learned from Margit the Fell. His moves are damaging for the early game, and his second phase presents an elemental challenge. But after some experience, you begin to see that this boss is actually only the beginning. Rani is a boss that feels easy at first. She's creepy as shit though.
Yeah, this nigga tried to bite my foot? What the fuck? Oh, I didn't see the thing like, yeah, these bitches on the ground laughing and shit. Why are y'all happy about this? I'm out in here singing lullabies and shit. Somebody want to hear that shit? It sucks because you do so much damage at first. You be like, oh, wow, I'm strong. Are you now? I see. You believe yourself to be strong.
My beloved, have no fear. I will hold thee. Patience. Ye will be countless born forever and ever.
I guess she made like a clone of herself. Is this like her clone?
Upon my name is Rani the Witch.
Oh, this Rani the Witch and then there's Rennie.
Be disturbed by thee. Foul trespasser. Send word far and wide. Of the last queen of Caria, Granala of the full moon. And the majesty of the night she conjureth.
But the second phase takes you by surprise. She represents a high-level mage encounter that, for most melee characters or people rushing the bosses, will knock you down each time. Radahn is most people's hardest boss encounter from a skill and power perspective. His boss fight does not have the second phase. Instead, everyone charges him with the player able to summon various NPCs repeatedly to battle alongside you. His attacks are high octane and flashy, and it makes for an enjoyable experience.
Whoa! Oh, that nigga rained an infinite array of arrows right on top of me. Hey, we're down cat.
Rykard is one of the most gimmicky bosses. For melee characters, it's borderline impossible to get close to him without taking damage, but a weapon found in the boss room is designed specifically to kill him at a distance.
Oh, it does that in here? Damn. That's bad.
Oh, I didn't know you would come back with another one. Yeah, boy. Got that weave on you, boy. What's he doing?
I rotted him. What the hell is that? Oh, I see. Oh, damn. Oh, this shit only raw in here.
Damn, I got like 6 flasks in your game now, nigga. Yes, we up. Right, God.
Man, this nigga, you're tripping.
I love the moves they give you with the spear.
Yeah, I was using it outside of here. The spirit is kind of trash. I'm like, damn.
When you get the arcane and the Astral War shit, boy, that shit downright disrespect. I mean, the long of the time when that shit long as fuck, nigga, when that shit hit, I'll be like, God damn, nigga.
And then this nigga, this is some anime ass shit.
Nah, this some berserk shit.
Nigga gonna pull the sword out. This is an old Orochimaru ass nigga.
Moog fights like a mix of Margit and the other minor enemies that you'll find later in the game that you'll be like, oh, these guys are like the same. One thing you'll notice though, if you accepted the bloody finger, which I think you mostly have to do to even get to that area, he has an attack phase that can pretty much automatically damage you no matter what you do, unless you picked up his shackle to interrupt him. In many cases, these bosses are like mini Namco game bosses. They move like anime characters with incredible speed and power, while you, the player, only have a few limited options to do that. Though if you're using Bloodhound Step against these bosses, it makes you feel like a Bleach character using Flash Step, so the player can at times look just as cool as the bosses do. I guess all that was mentioned to say that the bosses are a definite highlight in this game, even when sometimes they devolve into, I guess you could say, overly fast anime encounters that seemingly outclass you in every way. With a little bit of leveling, some ingenuity, and some adaptive learning, every boss can be a relatively simple experience, and it all mostly works in the end. Sure, when helping lower level players fight bosses, you are nerfed heavily in a way to balance the experience.
First off, well done. Treasure just ahead.
Oh, right here.
Oh, this is where you get the axe talisman, so he got the talisman. Let's get the fuck up out of here, bro.
Oh, shit. Oh, you picked me up. Oh! Ah! What? Get behind the wall.
That was scary.
But even then, with so many skills at your disposal, that is necessary and you learn to accept it. All in all, the much faster enemies make for a slightly more tense and tightly controlled experience, as that level of mechanical ability is necessary for success. And from a difficulty standpoint, that is all a player could really ask for. So, how can I close out my experience after almost 300 hours? Well, with a variety of builds and weapons to choose from, Elden Ring is a game with a massive replayability. I did not beat the game until I was already past 250 hours, and that was after doing as many side quests as I could, as well as pretty much every dungeon and catacomb available, every castle and keep, right? At this point, I've long since gotten my money's worth of the game. I have several other endings to see, trophies to gain, new players to help along their own Elden Ring journeys, and other builds to try out. This massive game has more than enough content and options for almost every sort of game there is, unless you don't like RPGs or difficulty. After so many hours in the game, I noticed the PvP needs balancing, but more than anything, the PvP community needs to expand its options. from Moonvale, from Rivers of Blood, from Bloodhound Step, even though I use it, from Moonlight Greatsword, and ganking. There will come more annoying weapons in builds and metas, but overall the game is a solid A-tier experience. Not exactly an S, but mostly because of some of those issues I mentioned before. But an A is an A. It passes, it excels based on its own merits. Elden Ring may very well change the future of gaming forever, if there is even that much of a future left with this crippled economy and fragile supply chains and war in Ukraine and a bunch of other shit. Either way, I see Elden Ring like a number of other games coming out nowadays. In the past decade, the last great spark of gaming has been achieved in my eyes. Some of the worst and best titles have surfaced since 2012, and however many years left of this art form we have left, I'm at least glad I have and many others who got to experience Elden Ring together. So, if you made it this far in the video, let us know how you feel about Elden Ring below. Hit the like button, subscribe, I don't really give a fuck. This shit is over anyway. Unity and oneness, this has been Cloud Coast Gaming. I'm out. Deuces.
I spit this cipher hieroglyphics showing black body physics. If you wanna know your purpose, you might have to learn your digits. Yeah, I'm known for the love, but I speak the true vicious. Steady jumping through the bands like my frequency exquisite. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. Okay, this is where I'm at. Don't play. This is where I'm at. Okay, this is where I'm at. Don't hate. This is where I'm at. Okay, this is where I'm at. They told us we ain't had no past. Okay, this is where we at. So content with getting to a bag. But while we feel like life is trash, and this is potent from the grass, the most potent